Hello, everybody. All right, so welcome to another edition of the Mikestand. Of course, we're starting off a new week here. We're going to give it a couple minutes, give people a chance to come in. So I hope everybody's had a good weekend. We of course, last night we had John Dillard on. We were just going over, just having a look at some stuff from one of Ethan Ben Skyver's trash cast. See if he wanted to respond to anything. So I thank him for that. So with all that as I said, we're just we'll be getting to the niche newscast in a moment. A couple minutes here. Just giving people a chance to come in, say hi and all that. As always, if you haven't already, of course, if you can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here anything we talk about grabs your attention, feel free to comment and/or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. As I said, we're just waiting on some more people, so just give them a chance to drop in. Let's see now. We're almost out of January here, so almost through the first month of the new year here. Um, yeah, 2 7. We'll just wait a couple more minutes here, and then we will we'll wait about another minute here, and then we'll go over what's on tap for that. Hong Kong Fooey, number one super guy. Hong Kong Fooey, quicker than a human eye. Chicky chong, chicky chong, chicky wah 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 wah. Hong Kong Fooey, that's terrific. Josie and the Pussycat. Casper, the friendly ghost, friendliest ghost you know. He laughs and plays, sing and dance all day. And they, ah, ah, ah. Overture, cut the lights. This is it. Tonight. No more rehearsing or learning our parts. We know every heart by. Alright, so anyways, we're past the 30-minute mark now. So now we'll go over what's on tap for tonight. Um, so tonight we're going to go over a couple of articles from Bounding into Comics. First off, Warner Brothers executive Sam Register and Hollywood insiders don't want voice actors or storyboard artists to worry about AI taking their jobs. Also, the other article we're going to talk about, Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths executive producer unsure whether DC Studios has any interest in continuing animated films. At this stage, we don't know. So with that, those two articles we're gonna go over tonight. So we will probably go ahead and get started then. Right into this. First off, before we do that, let me just do this real quick. All right. Well, anyways, let's go ahead and get going here on the articles here. All right, so here's the first article we're going to go over tonight. Warner Brothers animation executive Sam Register and Hollywood insiders don't want voice actors or storyboard artists worried about AI taking their jobs. And this has become more and more, with the localization debate we've been having recently. After, of course, after Bushy Road Works had announced that they were going to start using AI translations, this whole thing with AI has become a hot topic once again. Our article by J.B. Augustine published back on January 18th, last Thursday. AI was a huge concern for striking writers and actors last year, but their fight against technology replacing them isn't over, nor is it limited to those fields. And we just mentioned the other thing. Animators have a stake in things too, as their specialty is threatened at every level by generative imagery. Though in its infancy, digital AI art shows promise in the eyes of Hollywood executives, and why not if it's cost effective, right? This for the last 50 years or so has been not just in Hollywood but in anything. The idea of automation and machines replacing human workers. How is that going to end up working out? It's like, are we going to be like the Jetsons per se, where we're only going to have to go to work for 4 hours to put, just sit there in front of a computer pushing buttons for 4 hours a day? Is that what it's going to amount to? Let's see. This isn't the case for everyone out there. However, Warner Brothers Animation and Cartoon Network Studios president Sam Register is a dissenting voice on the future of AI to a fault. While implying progress is inevitable during a Los Angeles Times roundtable, he wants to stave it off and protect artists as long as he can. Let's see. Oh, animation is a visual medium, but so far I haven't seen anything AI can do visually that an artist doesn't do better currently. Unquote. Register said in a discussion via Cartoon Brew. Even at the storyboard phase, he is skeptical of AI's current capabilities. Quote, as an animation studio, I just think it's important we protect the artist and the art form as long as we can. Because I think we should give jobs to people who really do that, and so they can get their entry level experience, unquote, he said. Voice acting is another aspect of animation getting squeezed by AI that could see further encroachment in the next few years. This caused some performers to panic, but veteran voiceover talent agent Wes Stevens, um, he has seen many advancements change the game since 1994 from email to cloud technology, and thinks the industry can adapt. Of course, here's a scene from Batman the Animated Series. You have, of course, Kevin Conroy as Batman and Mark Hamill as Joker in the Laughing Fish episode there. Quote, I think flexibility creates scalability in terms of the volumes of business that can be done in any given day. And I think this is what's going to happen to some extent with AI, unquote. Stevens said to Backstage, quote, anything that frees us up and allows us to be more involved in things is a good thing, as long as the quality of work is not getting dinged by the volume, unquote. In other words, obviously everybody ultimately wants quality over quantity, right? If you had to actually choose between the two concepts, you know, I'd rather, it's like you'd rather watch five very good animes than watch 10, not so good, right? Kind of the idea there. Anyways, continuing on with the article here, with with where generative AI stands today as a help or a hindrance, he shares Register's assessment. Quote: Generative AI, as it exists today on the voice levels, is really basic. Said unquote. Said Stevens. Quote: I've seen it demoed. Um, Demonstrated, basically. There's something there, but can it do what voiceover artists do? 100% absolutely not. Yeah, yeah, a machine can copy your voice. It can, it can, it can vocalize the lines, but it does, but a machine cannot, like, a machine has no emotion, so it can't, like, really put in the emotion to understand the differences, like in tone. It can only copy what's been programmed into it. True. Try having it read the soliloquy of Hamlet and put in brackets in all the nuance, subtext, depth of character, and suffering. It can't color things at many different levels. Um, he added, which is true, which is essentially what I just talked about. There's from John Constantine, Matt Ryan providing the voice there. But Stevens distinguishes generative AI and quote artificial general intelligence unquote that could prove superior to human intelligence on paper and might not be far away. Quote AGI brackets would um, create a whole other rush. It's going to be very different than generative. I'm not scared of it. As a society and as individual industries, we have to be smart about it, unquote, he said. Quote, on the performer level, we have to ask if there are going to be organic signatures, whether that be your face, your expressions, your voice, even like the interaction we're having right now. Brackets in this interview, unbracketed, has all sorts of organic elements to it that are very nuanced, very individualistic, unquote. He added, "La cool from Samurai Jack." Let's see, quote. I've seen, um, I've seen some very interesting tech that with increasing improvements, we will have the capacity to say, here's my voice print, and there are the terms that exist around it, unquote. He continued. Lastly, on the subject of AI, Stevens explained, quote, no doubt there'll be collective bargaining agreement terms, but I'm not scared of it. I think the last thing you want to do is slam on the brakes and don't do anything because technology, in brackets, um, will move ahead without us. I think there are great things coming from it. We just have to collaborate on it. All right, so there we go. There we go with that one. All right, so getting ready to move on to the next article then in a moment. As soon as we if you haven't already, of course, if you can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and/or questions, and we will try to answer the questions to the best of our ability. So let's move on with the next one here. All right. Now, normally, I don't usually do a whole lot on movie stuff, but this one also is an animated movie, so I might as well go with it here. All right, so Justice League: Crisis on Infinite Earths executive producers unsure whether DC Studios has any interest in continuing animated films. Um, and, quote, at this stage, we don't know, unquote. Article by Spencer Cooley, published back on the 18th. Wonder Woman, Stana Katic, Superman of Earth 2, Lois Lane, and Superman. Hold their breath as they wait to see if a monitor's plan was successful. Just, alright. In an unfortunate update to what is arguably the last remaining source for at least somewhat faithful depictions of the publisher's materials, Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths executive producer Butch Lukic and Jim Krieg have admitted that in light of the relatively recent formation of DC Studios, they outright don't know what the future holds for DC's animated film endeavors. There's Spectre in the background there, and I got some monitors up front there. A duo of longtime DC animated creatives, Lukic's credits include storyboarding and directing stints on Batman Beyond, Justice League, and Beware Batman, while Krieg has served as a writer on nearly every DC animated production in the last decade, revealed their uncertainty regarding DC Studios' animated plans while speaking to comicbookmovie.com's Josh Wilding in promotion of Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 1 official release. Hmm. Therein, the pair.
One, I'm gonna.
Let's clear this away so we don't accidentally hear it. Oh boy. Okay. Therein, the pair were at one point asked by their host, quote, I know that obviously with DC Studios, there's been a bit of uncertainty about what's going to happen with these animated movies. Are you hoping you're going to continue as Elseworld projects, or do you not know yourself at this point? Unquote. To which Lukic admitted, quote, at this stage, um, we don't know, but any one of these, even the Justice Society, could definitely be, there could be other versions of that as far as stories. You quote, again, it's all dependent on where they want to go. He further detailed to Wilding, quote, I mean, it all has to be Elseworlds. We can't go into James Gunn universe. Um, but our whole goal before James Gunn was gonna come in and be in charge. We already knew we had a 10 movie structure, and we'd be finished at this point. As far as beyond that, sequels based on these films, again, it's all up to DC and up to Warner Brothers. Unquote. And unfortunately for fans, it seems this quote and smaller quote wait and see moment is but the latest in a series of uphill battles DC's animated film arm has faced. As hopping off of his colleague's anecdote, Krieg then recalled, quote, and as we've been doing these interviews, Butch, I had a flashback and the Tuckerverse, um, let's see, in brackets here, colloquial name given by fans to the Justice League, Flashpoint Paradox to Justice League Dark Apocalypse War era films produced by head of DC animation films, James Tucker, unbracketed. I forget how many movies. It's a tremendous amount of movies. But so Lukic and Butch and I had this idea that we would have a long time to build up to Crisis, which was the pitch. And I remember you and I talking to, in bracket, president of Warner Brothers Animation, unbracketed, Sam Register, and being like, in small quote, maybe we could have 20 films and they end in Crisis. And I think he said, in smaller quote, how about 3? Quote, so we built it out, we negotiated up, but yes, he concluded, quote, there where we are, unquote. That's where we are. This end, Lukic, um, further detailed, quote, I originally just wanted to keep doing the build up slow, with Long Halloween and Men of Tomorrow, and I wanted to take as long as possible and do an open ended amount of films, unquote. Crisis wasn't thought of then, but then once we gave them our pitch, they went, and Smalls went, nah, we want Crisis involved in this, and we want you to do it in 10 movies. Small quote. Which is why we had to fast track some of these stories and build it towards this. He included of his thoughts on the topic they weren't going to give us 20 movies. Before I continue on, I do need to step away from the computer for a moment, so I'm going to put some music on, entertain you guys while I'm gone. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back, so let's go ahead and continue on with this article here. Let's see now. Notably, Krieg and Lukic and Krieg's confusion comes as little surprise, given that the very vague terms with which DC Studios itself has addressed the situation. Um, Asked if, quote, the animated movies from Warner Brothers Entertainment will continue, unquote, during the January 2023 unveiling of his and fellow DC Studios co-head uh, Peter Safran's cinematic plans, James Gunn asserted, quote, some of that stuff will continue as Elseworlds, but a lot of other stuff we're starting to bring into animation with, in parentheses here, Warner Brothers animation president Sam Register, on parentheses there. So that will have things that are connected with this, unquote. Quote, I think there have been a lot of really marvelous DC cartoons, unquote, he added. So we're going to keep moving forward with that, quote unquote. Combine this wishy washy answer with Gunn's noted history of flip flopping regarding his DC, and one has an instant recipe for, quote, who even knows what's going on anymore, unquote. Okay. Yeah. The first entry in Gunn and Safran's new DCU, Creature Commanders, is currently on track to rise from the grave onto HBO Max sometime in late 2024. Okay, so there we go with that. Let's see now, where are we on time here? 30 minutes, so maybe we can see if I'm gonna go try a different route here though for this. Right, there we go with that one. All right, here's some. I guess I know Yellow Fox was talking about this one earlier. Let's get into this here. Hi. Masters of the Universe Revolution executive producer tries to win back fans by promising Netflix sequel series will prominently feature He-Man. The only problem is that Kevin Smith we're talking about, he's been known to pull, the last few times pull in bait and switch on here. I know. Article by Spencer McCooley published today. That's first thing is press X to doubt. uh, all right. Uh, in a declaration that perhaps more than any in recent memory needs to be seen to be believed, Netflix's Masters of the Universe Revolution executive producer Ted Biaselli, um, has claimed that the animated sequel series, unlike its predecessor Revelations, will actually, quote, explore what it means to be He-Man, unquote. Netflix director of the original series offered this supposed tease of Revolution's narrative direction while speaking with SFX in promotion of the series' upcoming January 25th premiere date, so this Thursday. Asked what fans could expect from the next trip to Eternia, Biaselli asserted, quote, "This is a story that's going to explore what it means to be He-Man when a new responsibility falls on Adam."
Currently working on.
All right, so here we go. Quote, "I think it's really interesting to explore what it's like when, as an adult, you know what you want to do, and your parents also have expectations for you," unquote. Elaborate. Quote, "How do you reconcile with that?" Unquote. Then making what can only be described as a Hail Mary for fan attention, Biaselli then answered his own question, quote, "We do it with an eye towards making sure fans know that He-Man is in 3.5 or 4 out of the 5 episodes," unquote. As anyways, as Yellow Flash and his coverage of this talked about earlier, of course, you know, the show is called He-Man. Okay, that is your main character. He should be in every episode. Okay, quote, "He is He-Man in the show," unquote. He ultimately exclaimed. Unfortunately, let's see. Unfortunately for Biaselli, it's unlikely that his desperate play will actually connect with any of the fans he ostensibly appealing to. Um, as at this point in history, the He-Man continuation series has become almost synonymous with the term deception. Yeah, it's kind of like fool me once, shame on you; fool me twice, shame on me. And we know that they've been pulling the bait and switch on people for a while now with this stuff. So. Take, for example, the base fact that despite being marketed as a direct sequel series to the original Masters of the Universe cartoon, then the previous entry, um, Revelations, actually centered not on He-Man himself, but rather Teela and her quest to protect Eternia in the wake of his supposed death. Further, this is the same series whose most famous moment came not in the actual show, but when showrunner Kevin Smith attempted to discredit a wholly accurate series spoiler report from YouTubers Neon and Geeky Sparkles, otherwise known as the duo behind Clownfish TV, by outright lying about Revelation's plot. And then there's Biaselli's own prior admission that the series race swapped both Andra and King Grayskull in order to both trick audiences into liking their own original characters, but that the decision was made specifically despite a supposed um, lack of lack of diversity among the franchise's cast. In light of these very real and proverbial um, improvable events, audiences have been left with little, if absolutely any reason to trust anything the series production crew may say in an attempt to boost its watch numbers. Mm-hmm. To this end, it should be noted that at no point in Biaselli's recent statement does he ever explicitly confirm the capacity in which He-Man will appear in his 3.5 or 4 episode screen time. So yeah, well, okay, that's very interesting because yeah, maybe they will have him in 3.5 to 4 episodes of the 5, but he may just come in for like a cameo appearance or something like that, you know. And that would be like if that was the case, a lot of people would be complaining about that too, you know. Further, at no point does Netflix ever use any language that would suggest the hero plays an actual central role in the series plot. Thus, given their history of deception and willingness to run roughshod over the franchise's history, it currently stands well within the realm of possibility that rather than actually playing the part of series protagonist, He-Man will instead appear, um, excuse me, in Revolutions as an introspective warrior whose heroism is impacted by his own self-doubt. Yeah, which is not what you want to have the hero doing. Kind of like the lead hero in the other franchise starring Skeletor voice actor Mark Hamill. Um, Ultimately, fans can discover the truth behind Biaselli's words when Masters of the Universe hits Netflix on January 25th. All right, so let's see where we're at on time here. Oh, we got up to 40 minutes at least there. So, okay, so now what we can do now, let's see. So I guess what we'll do, we'll move on to the wrestling wrap up here. I know there wasn't much. So at least in WWE, of course, tonight's going to be the go home Raw before tonight's going to be the go home Raw before this Saturday's Royal Rumble. On tonight's show, main event we'll see Drew McIntyre taking on Damian Priest. In a women's tag team match, Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell will be taking on Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark. Ivar will be taking on Chad Gable. The Miz will be taking on Judgment Day's Dominic Mysterio, who will have Finn Balor and JD McDonough in his corner. Ivy Nile with Maxine Dupree in her corner will be taking on Valhalla. And then the New Day members, Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods, will be taking on Imperium of Giovanni Vinci and Ludwig Kaiser. And of course, there was a report that for the first time since his injury back in 2022, Big E will be joining his New Day teammates on an upcoming episode of WWE TV's The Bump talk show. That's one of the big news coming out of that. So let's see where we stand now in terms of what's going down this Saturday at the Royal Rumble. We know, of course, there'll probably be a men's and women's Royal Rumble match. Let's also try to take a look here at see what they have listed planned for this Saturday. So the card for this Saturday's Royal Rumble, which will be on WWE, coming from Tropicana Field in Saint and in St. Louis. You have Logan Paul will be defending the United States title against Kevin Owens. You have Roman Reigns apparently defending the Universal and WWE titles in a fatal four-way against AJ Styles, Randy Orton, and LA Knight. And then you have, of course, the two Royal Rumble. And the women's matches already confirmed for the women's Royal Rumble match include Becky Lynch, Bayley, Nia Jax, Bianca Belair. Confirmed for the men's Royal Rumble are Shinsuke Nakamura, CM Punk, Bobby Lashley, Drew McIntyre, Cody Rhodes, and Gunther. So the current Intercontinental champion. So that's all we got for the WWE side of things. AEW coming off of Collision this past Saturday. Things happened. On this past Saturday night's Collision. Night opened up with Jon Moxley making his return to AEW, coming back from his appearances over in New Japan's Wrestle Kingdom, in which he defeated Shane Taylor Promotions by referee's decision. In another match in the Cope Open, Adam Copeland defeated Dante Martin, who gave a solid effort of himself. Thunder Rosa, the former AEW Women's World Champion, defeated Queen Aminata, a very hard-hitting match. Daniel Garcia would defeat Buddy Matthews, which in the aftermath of the match, of course, you saw, of course, you saw FTR and Daniel Garcia's corner, and the other two members of House of Black and Buddy Matthews' corner, and in Malachi Black and Brody King. And because of what happened after the match, with the melee that ensued, you now have a match set up for, I believe it's Wednesday tomorrow on Wednesday's Dynamite here. I don't know. Yeah, I believe it's on Dynamite. It's either on Dynamite or on this weekend's Collision, in which the three members of House of Black will be taking on Daniel Garcia and FTR, this time in a steel cage match, in a steel cage elimination match. So this is going to be very interesting to see what happens here. You'll have Roderick Strong defeated Matt Sydal in a match that eventually set up a confrontation between that was set up on Wednesday. I'm sorry. And in the main event of the night, saw the Blackpool Combat Club of Bryan Danielson and Claudio Castagnoli defeating Eddie Kingston and Ortiz. So that's all happened on Collision this past week. Coming up on Wednesday's Dynamite. Let me just find that. On Wednesday's Dynamite here. Coming from Savannah, Georgia, from the End Market Arena in Savannah, Georgia. You will have Adam Copeland In another Cope Open match, she'll be taking on Minoru Suzuki. Jeff Hardy takes on Swerve Strickland. Hangman Adam Page will be taking on Penta El Zero Miedo. Wardlow takes on Trent Beretta, and then the main event of the night, we'll see Billy Gunn and the Acclaimed defending the AEW World Trios title against the recently dethroned Ring of Honor World Six-Man Champions, the Mogul Embassy, who lost their title on Rampage recently. Actually, not Rampage. I think it was actually last Wednesday on Dynamite, actually. Brian Cage, Bishop Khan, and Tor Leone. So now they'll go from one competing for one six-man title to another, basically. All right. So also, past Thursday, of course, on Impact, some matches from the Snake Eyes event were shown. We'll go over the results from this past Thursday's Impact wrestling TV show. TNA Impact. So now they're TNA again. They're known as TNA. No longer Impact is just now the name of the programming. So on this past Thursday's episode of Impact, in the opening match on Impact, Jake Something outlasted 5 other men in a 6-way scramble match, outlasting AAA Mega Champion El Hijo del Vikingo, Kushida, Laredo Kid, and Mike Bailey, who actually teamed up in the 4-way World Tag Title matches. Laredo Kid was a replacement for Trent Seven, who had travel issues, and Trey Miguel of the Rascals. In her first singles match in TNA, Shia Brookside defeated former TNA Knockouts champion Tasha Steelz. Grizzled young vets James Drake and Zach Gibson defeated the veteran duo of Frankie Kazarian and Eric Young. After the match, though, after a couple of miscommunications during the match, things came to a head between Kazarian and Young as Kazarian turned on Eric Young. And I'm thinking maybe there was some frustration there and all of it, because he's talking about, oh, this is supposed to be my year. This is supposed to be my year. And the first couple matches out, he loses. So it looks like Frankie Kazarian may have had a heel turn happen here. PC defeated Jai Vidal in just under a minute and a half. And in probably what is considered one of the early contenders for 2024 Match of the Year, Josh Alexander defeated Will Ospreay in a match that saw Scott D'Amore come out and talk about how TNA was back. And the speech after that, in which, talking about how, like, Bruce Pritchard had declared years ago that TNA was dead now, but then when D'Amore came back, with guys, on the backs of guys like the Motor City Machine Guns, like Will Ospreay, TNA Kid, on Josh Alexander, Moose. These guys are the guys who are helping to push TNA forward. There were some of the recent signings that debuted at like Hard to Kill, like Nick Nemeth, Ash. Nick Nemeth, the former Dolph Ziggler. Ash by Elegance, formerly known as Dana Brooke, and AJ Francis, formerly known as Top Dollar in WWE. TNA, I think this year is gonna try to make a stand as another major player, another alternative to WWE and AEW. So stay tuned for that, folks. And also over the weekend was the showing of the MLW event, Reloaded. All right. I'll get to that in a moment here. Let me see. There we go. MLW Reload 2024, which of course was taped back on the 6th of January here, but was shown over the weekend on YouTube from the 2300 Arena, formerly known, of course, as ECW Arena, with Jim Dombrowski and Matt Stryker doing the doing a commentary. Zeta of the World Titan Federation defeated Notorious Mimi in the opening bout. In a Joshi Showcase match, now Kakuta defeated Moka Miyamoto. And in a very cute moment after the match, there was this guy, I guess, involved in Major League Wrestling called Love Doug. And despite the language barriers, came out and essentially asked Moka Miyamoto out on a date, and she accepted. That was kind of interesting. Satoshi, a former NWA World Champion and MLW, and the first MLW World Champion, Satoshi Kojima, beat Sami Callihan. Sami Callihan finding himself now in, of course, Major League Wrestling, being part of the calling stable. Ichiban defeated Jimmy Lloyd, which eventually led to the signing of Ichiban to challenge Rocky Romero for the MLW World Middleweight title at the next event on February 3rd, I believe. Super fight. Good Brother number 3 defeated Steph DeLander. Former World Women's Welterweight Champion Dalmi Exo defeated Tiara James, which led to a confrontation with Jelani Kai that also brought out Zeta to see who would challenge, Jelani Kai for the World Women's Featherweight title. And then in a tag team match, Matt Riddle making an appearance as he teamed with MLW World Champion Alex Kane to defeat World Titan Federation's duo of Josh Bishop and Tom Lawler. So that's all I got for you folks on that front. Now, let's see now. Today being Monday, January 22nd, 2024, let's take a look back at this day in Nietzsche history. History! All right, so first off, we're going to head back 75 years ago today, as on this date, 75 years ago today, back in 1949, MGM's Bad Luck Blackie premiered in movie theaters on this date back in 1949. It was said to be the debut of a prototype version of Spike in this one. So the Bulldog here was kind of the prototype for Spike the Bulldog. This cartoon marks the first appearance of Tex Avery's version of Spike the Bulldog, later renamed Bush the Irish Dog, 1956's Deputy Droopy, who would later appear in Droopy cartoons. But yeah, this was so back 75 years ago today. Bad Luck Blackie from MGM premiered in movie theaters. Moving ahead to 1999, which was just 25 years ago today. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. Moving ahead to 1994, 30 years ago today, actually. On this date, 30 years ago today, in 1994, Madhouse's anime film, Kathy Base Dreamers Carp Tayo Monogatari, it's a carp fish story, premiered in Japanese theaters on this date 30 years ago today. So, carp fish story, Shut Up Dreamers Carp Fish Story would premiere in Japanese theaters on this date 30 years ago today. Anyways, getting ready to move on to the next piece of Nietzsche history as we move ahead to 1990. Actually, let's see. I believe it's actually 2014. All right, 2014. On this date in 2014, the first issue of All New Invaders from Marvel Comics went on sale on this date. The story was Gods and Soldiers, written by James Robinson, art by Steve Pugh, lettering done by Corey Pettit. Wes Hartman did the coloring. So All New Invaders went on sale on newsstands on this date back in 2014, 10 years ago today. And finally, going back just 5 years ago today, on this date, 5 years ago today, in the go home SmackDown to that year's Royal Rumble 5 years ago, the WWE held its SmackDown Live event from the Intrust Bank Arena in Wichita, Kansas. Let's see. The show saw in the main event Rey Mysterio defeat Andrade in a best 2 out of 3 falls match by disqualification. Andrade beat Mysterio in the first fall, and then Mysterio came back 2 straight falls to beat him. Samoa Joe defeated Mustafa Ali by a submission. Cesaro defeated The Miz. Mandy Rose defeated Naomi, and that's all we got for that. So, so with that, I thank everybody for being here tonight. I hope everybody enjoyed the show. We'll be back here, of course, with more Nietzsche news tomorrow. Also, of course, this Friday, RJ Carter will be joining me as we will be looking back to January 1940. We will be looking at comics that went on sale from Fox Feature Syndicate, notably Blue Beetle #1 and Science Comics Volume 1, Issue 1. So with that, I thank everybody for being here, and I hope to see you all back here tomorrow. Bye.